All right, episode 9, CBJ show. Hope you guys are enjoying the series as well as me, Jason, and Cam are. I want to say a quick intro before we get into it. I don't post a lot on YouTube. I don't talk a lot. I just usually go right into it. But it's been a long time. Just want to give a quick recap. I'm in school now, so things are busy. And summertime and COVID with online school is much easier to do YouTube and school at the same time. When you're in person, your choices are much limited. But that's okay. So I'm still doing the podcast. Unfortunately, Cam was not able to participate, but he'll be hopefully joining us next week or next episode for episode 10. Episode 9, we talked about where we left off last time. We left off Celtics Raptors Game 7. You know, it's happened from there. NHL Stanley Cup Finals. Right now, when I'm filming it, it's 7 o'clock at night on Saturday, 26th of September. The NHL Game 5 playoffs is going on right now. Stanley Cup Game 5. So, if that happens, obviously our predictions were earlier today, so nothing is after scores happen. And same with any football things. If anything goes out late, we do this before it's on the editing end. Editing takes a long time, so that's why it takes a long time, and you don't usually see it. And sometimes the things we talk about in predictions happen after it. We talked about Game 7 last time, and then by the time this video was edited and uploaded to YouTube, the score had already happened. We knew what happened, but we didn't know what happened during the podcast. So that's a little clarification. I mention this always, every episode. Instagram, cbj.sports. And always follow me on my Instagram, my personal. It's bpop223. If you're not a follower, you can be one now. I have a new YouTube channel, which is where you're watching this. But if you're watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thanks, Kim, for setting that up. Check it out. It's BPYT. Post the podcast on here. Post some other cool vids. Who knows? Maybe a surprise. Cooking vids will also be on here. Unfortunately, with had to create a new account, so that's why. So if you're listening and you're just hearing me talk and not seeing me talk, watch on BPYT for the first time. And if you're always been watching on YouTube, take a ride and listen on Spotify. That's the whole point of Spotify Apple Podcast. This podcast is not only in person, but it can be taken on the road. That's my quick thoughts, episode 9. Let's get into it.
3.
Welcome back to the CBJ Podcast. I'm Brandon. He's Jason. We're without Cam today, but the show will continue. Episode 9 will include NBA, NHL recaps, NFL injury updates, and your Pats Raiders Week 3 preview with all injuries and preview and what to expect from this crazy Week 3 showdown. And that game will be at 1 o'clock. Have more details later. But I'm going to hand it off to Jason, who's going to go in depth to the NBA and NHL recaps where we left off last time.
Thank you, Brandon. So our NBA recap, we're in the conference finals of the 2020 NBA playoffs. We last off, there was Game 7 of the Toronto Raptors vs. Boston Celtics series, and the Celtics took that game to move on to play the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. That series is highly competitive as the Heat lead 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow. Over in the Western Conference, the Los Angeles Lakers ended up closing out the Houston Rockets in 5 games, and head coach Mike D'Antoni will not be returning to the Rockets next year. The other series was one we thought was over last time, with the Clippers up 3-1. However, the Nuggets completed their second 3-1 comeback of the playoffs, this time taking down the last year's Finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard. Before these playoffs, only 11 teams in the history of the NBA have come back down 3-1, fun fact, and now Denver Nuggets have 2 of the 13 3-1 comebacks in the history of this league. In the Lakers-Nuggets conference finals, the Lakers lead 3-1, but you cannot count out Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and the Denver Nuggets because we know they can handle being down 3-1. Outside the playoffs, some breaking news is that former Oklahoma City Thunder head coach Billy Donovan has agreed to become the new head coach of the Chicago Bulls. That wraps up our brief NBA report, and now transitioning into the NHL recap, which I will also be doing. So when we last left off, the Lightning were winning 2-0 in the conference finals. The Lightning ended up winning that series against the Islanders in 6 games to move on to the Stanley Cup Finals. The West matchup features the Dallas Stars and Vegas Golden Knights, where the Stars led 2-1, and they ended up holding on to that series to send Vegas home in 5 games. That means the 2020 Stanley Cup Finals matchup is between the Dallas Stars and Tampa Bay Lightning. Just last night, the Lightning won Game 4 to take a 3-1 series advantage after Kevin Shattenkirk scored a game-winning goal in overtime. Now they're just 1 win away from becoming the Stanley Cup champions. A big part of their success comes from the return of team captain Steven Stamkos, who had an amazing Game 3. That will wrap up our NHL recap. Next is the NFL injury report, which will be led by Brandon.
Thanks, Jason, for that recap. I'm going to talk about the NFL injuries. Sorry for that issue. Jimmy Garoppolo was one of few Niners players to get injured in Week 2 against the Jets. The turf monster was better than the Jets as the San Francisco 49ers rolled out to a 31-13 victory. It wasn't the Jets that got the Niners, it was the turf monster. Jimmy G will be out for Week 3, as well as George Kittle and Raheem Monster. Other injuries, QB Drew Lock will be out for 3 or 5 weeks after having an injury. Saquon Barkley will be out for the rest of the year. If you have him, you probably knew about this, but just to let you know, you will not have to face Barkley in any other fantasy football leagues. Christian McCaffrey will be out 4 to 6 weeks. Le'Veon Bell is on IR for a minimum of 3 weeks. Raheem Monster, I mentioned, out as well. Michael Thomas will be out again in Week 3. He was out Week 2 against the Raiders, and he'll miss another week to the Saints. That'll be big, as Drew Brees will need to find a new target as he couldn't figure it out against the Raiders in Week 2. Devontae Adams, it will be doubtful for Week 3, questionable to return, but probably won't play. A.J. Brown will be out for Week 3 as well. Cortland Sutton is on IR. George Kittle, I said, will be out as well. Von Miller, unfortunately, will be out for the season. And Anthony Barr will be on IR. Same with cornerback Richard Sherman of the San Francisco 49ers. We saw that 49ers get lots of injuries. Deebo Samuel, who went on IR at the beginning of Week 1, should be able to return in Week 4. Jimmy G may be out for Week 3, but because they're playing the Giants on the same turf, don't want to take any risk, as Kyle Shanahan will be starting backup quarterback Nick Mullins. Deebo Samuel should be available for Week 4 in the Niners matchup. That's going to do it for our recaps this episode. We're going to discuss NBA awards with Jason.
Thank you, Brandon. So NBA awards, all of them have been announced just recently. MVP went to Giannis Antetokounmpo, Rookie of the Year John Morant, Sixth Man of the Year Montrezl Harrell, Most Improved Brandon Ingram, Defensive Player of the Year also Giannis, and then Coach of the Year Nick Nurse. So we wanted to talk about if we think some other players should get it, or if they're players that got it deserved it, and why. So I'm gonna see what Brandon thinks first. Brandon, it's all you.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind about maybe could have been different was Rookie of the Year award. John Morant, props to him in the Memphis Grizzlies doing so well, but they fell apart in the bubble. They didn't win a lot of games. Could have made the playoffs. They didn't. They weren't even the 8th seed. They were the 9th seed in the play-in game this year. They had to win 2 games in a row against the Trailblazers, but the Trailblazers were too much for the Grizzlies to handle. A lot of people have been commenting, where's Zion? Zion made the NBA 2K Rookie of the Year cover, but he's not Rookie of the Year in real life. Hard to debate if Zion should have gotten it. In my opinion, Zion should be Rookie of the Year. Jason, your thoughts?
I definitely agree that Zion is the best player between him and Ja Morant. But the thing is, Zion, he has a small sample size of the 2019-20 season. There's only like 23 games, if I'm not mistaken. So even though he looked like the best player for that draft class, he didn't have enough time to play to show that he deserved the Rookie of the Year. I know he deserves it, but the amount of games does definitely matter. So I think Ja Morant is well deserved, but I think that two Miami Heat players definitely could have been in that race in Kendrick Nunn and Tyler Hero. Kendrick Nunn was amazing in the regular season, an undrafted rookie. Nobody really expected anything out of him. And Tyler Hero, if this was a playoff Rookie of the Year award, I'd give it to him, but he's definitely stepped it up in the playoffs, but didn't look as good as he is right now in the playoffs. Now we're going to take a look at the MVP, which was Giannis Antetokounmpo winning his second MVP in a row. I'd have to agree with this one because he had a great regular season. There are guys that you could have put over him, like LeBron, Harden, Jokic, Luka Doncic, who broke out this year. But Giannis had an amazing season this year. It's a regular season award. If it wasn't a regular season award, I don't give it to Giannis. I'd give it to LeBron. But I think Giannis deserves it. What do you think, Brandon?
Giannis Antetokounmpo deserves MVP for this year. Like Jason mentioned, this is the year, not the playoffs. And even though Giannis hasn't been playing well this in the bubble and in the playoffs, he was phenomenal this whole year. He's still that great defensive player. He can still dunk. He can still play defense, offense, defense. That is why he's MVP. LeBron James has gone off in this playoffs. If there was awards for the playoffs, LeBron James would definitely earn MVP. He scores 60-point games. He has triple doubles. He's phenomenal. He should be MVP for this 2020 playoffs. Like we mentioned, the Rookie of the Year award, Zion may have been better in the playoffs, in the bubble, but this is a year look, and Zion was injured for the first about 30 games or so. So, Rookie of the Year to Ja Morant is correct, and same with Giannis for MVP. Coach of the Year went to Nick Nurse, coach of the Toronto Raptors. A lot of people thought this was a good decision, but what about Bucks coach, or the Celtics, or the Heat, or the Lakers? Your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, Nick Nurse, he had a great year as the Raptors are without Kawhi Leonard, their superstar that led them to their first championship in franchise history. Now he's gone with the Clippers, but you got to give Nick Nurse credit for developing young guys like Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet into young stars, and also Kyle Lowry stepping up big time, even though he is a veteran and he's, I'd say, probably a little bit out of his prime. He's still stepping up and playing great basketball. And like the bench guys like OG Anunoby, Norman Powell, Terrence Davis, the rookie, those guys are going to be some good scorers in the future. So Nick Nurse definitely was a good candidate, but the Lakers coach, like you mentioned, Frank Vogel, he definitely coached them well this year with just LeBron and Anthony Davis being like the main stars. They didn't really have anyone outside of them. So you got to give Vogel credit for leading the Lakers to a 1 seed in the Western Conference. Taking a look at the Bucks, Mike Budenholzer, he's been amazing with developing Chris Middleton into an all-star to be a great sidekick for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And then like a young guy, Dante DiVincenzo, who was drafted in 2018. He has developed into a very good defender. Celtics coach Brad Stevens, he definitely was able to develop the young duo in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown very well this year. And Brad Stevens deserves a lot of credit, but I think Nick Nurse might have deserved it just a bit more. And then, like you mentioned, the Heat coach, Eric Spoelstra, he's coached LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. He knows how to get the job done. And bringing these guys up like Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson. He deserves a lot of credit, so I would either give it to Nick Nurse or Eric Spoelstra.
Yes, I agree with your thoughts, Jason, and I think Nick Nurse, what he's done without Kawhi Leonard, they almost made it. They were one game short, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals against Miami Heat. But you gotta give credit to Miami Heat coach with a lot of rookies, new guys, Nunn, Robinson, Bam, with leader Jimmy Butler leading the team. The Miami team beat the number 1 seed Milwaukee Bucks. Part of it is the bubble atmosphere with no home court advantage. You saw that in the Toronto Celtics series, Raptors Celtics series. No home team all won a game. It was the road team every time. And we saw with the Heat, it was a great example of that as well. Heat with Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler, they don't win the NBA Finals, NBA championship this year, I could see them being NBA contenders next year. Your thoughts, Jason?
Yeah, Miami definitely is heading in the right direction with development of the young guys and the leadership step that Jimmy Butler has taken this year. He hasn't really found his spot as a leader as he's been bouncing around with teams, starting in Chicago, but Derrick Rose was the main guy there during his time, and then there was the Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo year where they came over. That was a good team, but they didn't really accomplish much, and Jimmy Butler didn't prove to be a leader. Over to Minnesota after he got traded for Zach LaVine. He was not really the man there as Karl-Anthony Towns took a step up as top 3 center in the NBA in many people's opinions. Then over to Philly, couldn't really fit in well there as they had a lot of elite scorers in Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Tobias Harris. But now he's found his spot in South Beach with the Miami Heat, and he's looking like he can be a great leader for lots of NBA teams. And now we got a little bit off topic talking about the Heat, but that's okay. We love talking about the development of teams. Sticking on the topic of Giannis, he also won Defensive Player of the Year. Your thoughts on this, Brandon?
Yeah, I mentioned this when I was talking about MVP. He is MVP for total reasons, and because he's not just an offensive player, but he's also a defensive player, and this is why he has won Defensive Player of the Year for the 2020 season. Awesome decision. I think this is kind of unanimous. You could put a player like Marcus Smart or something, but Smart wasn't the best during the regular season. He's definitely gone off in the playoffs. If we had to make rankings and awards for the playoffs, I would definitely think Marcus Smart would be Defensive Player of the Year in the playoffs. Jason, you think a unanimous decision for Giannis was the right decision?
It was definitely a right decision because Giannis, like you said, he's a two-way player. Yes, he is very dangerous on the offensive end, but he has shown that he can be elite on the defensive end, getting lots of steals and blocks with his long wingspan. He's all over the place on defense, and he's definitely deserved it this year. He's been in contention for a few years for this award, but I think that this year he really proved to the league that he can be a great two-way player. And now some other quick awards. Most improved player, Brandon Ingram. He was on the Lakers last year, and he was traded for Anthony Davis and that big deal. And then he steps up as the leading scorer on this team, averaging 23, 24 points. Your thoughts on this, Brandon?
Brandon Ingram. Pelicans fan. I'm a big Pelicans fan. Unfortunately, they lost Anthony Davis to go to the Lakers, but Brandon Ingram has stepped up for the Pelicans, sorry. And with Zion Williamson in his second year next year, this is a team that's is a playoff contender. Without Zion this year, it was really tough, and Ingram couldn't do it all. But this is a team that has the pieces, has the coaching staff, can do it. I think this New Orleans Pelicans team is a playoff contender next year, and I think they can make a long run with Zion Williamson. He was great at Duke. he just happened to get injured before the season started, and a 4-month COVID break didn't help with that, as he started playing games and then he had to stop his playing. But I think New Orleans is going to go to the playoffs next year. Your thoughts, Jason?
New Orleans is definitely heading in the right direction. Yeah, Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram could be a big duo in the future, like maybe 4 or 5 years from now. Like Zion Williamson could be a top 5 player in this league, and Brandon Ingram will probably still be an all-star. And also like the development of Lonzo Ball. Everyone's saying he's a bust, but I think that with the less pressure situation in New Orleans than LA is going to help him develop into a good starting point guard, can put up some great numbers. And also, 8th overall pick this past year, Jackson Hayes at center. He will definitely develop as well. He's definitely like a project player, as I don't see him taking a big step next year. But I think in 2 years, he could be a good starting center in the NBA. So definitely New Orleans heading in the right direction, championship contenders in the future. The final award that was given out was Sixth Man of the Year. It went to Montrezl Harrell, big man of the Los Angeles Clippers. He definitely put up great numbers this year alongside his other Sixth Man of the Year candidate, Lou Williams. This is one of the best benches in the league with 2 Sixth Man of the Year candidates. He definitely deserved it, but in my opinion, Dennis Schroeder could have been a lot closer to this award on the Thunder. What about you, Brandon? What do you think about Harrell?
Yeah, I think Clippers having 2 Sixth Men of the Year award contenders is big, but we saw against Denver that they had the key pieces. They had George, and they had Harrell, and they had Patrick Beverley, but they just couldn't get it done against Jokic and the Nuggets. I had said this a long time ago, before the NBA bubble would restart, that the Nuggets are going to be a contender this year. So many people told me, nah, you're wrong. Nuggets, Jokic, he may be skinnier, but he's not going to be better. Well, we saw that the Nuggets are better, and maybe they were too much to handle for the Clippers, even though Clippers had all the key pieces. They just didn't work together as a team, and they blew their lead. They were up 3-1, could have finished it, and they let Denver come back so many times. And we've seen it throughout the playoffs this year. If a team takes their foot off the gas pedal, the other team is going to come right back and score points and hurt you. We see this in the Heat Celtics series, and we saw this in the Nuggets Clippers series. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal. Jason?
Yes, spot on, Brandon. Just because you're up in the series 3-1, 3-0, whatever, like you can't really say that the series is over. You still have to win that 4th game. And the Clippers kind of got lazy at the end. And same with the Utah Jazz in that first round series. They let the Nuggets come back down 3-1. And we've seen in NBA history, the Warriors leading the Cavs 3-1 in the 2016 NBA Finals. And LeBron James led his Cavs back to win Cleveland's first ever championship. And you just really cannot count out teams even though they're down in the series by a few games, because you never know what's going to happen. Like we've seen Jamal Murray just take his game to a new level. You could call him like a star point guard at this point. I think I could, after the performance he has put on in these playoffs. So I'm not counting out the Nuggets right now against the Lakers down 3-1, but this is definitely a sign for the Clippers that they need to play a lot harder. I'm not really blaming it all on Kawhi Leonard because he played us all, but Paul George did not play like playoff P that we know. And then the surrounding pieces in those 2 six-man contenders didn't really show up in the playoffs as much as we thought they would. So in order for the Clippers to take that next step, everyone is going to have to step up when it matters, not just Kawhi Leonard.
Spot on, Jason, as well. Doc Rivers will certainly need to do something with his Clippers team. They have all the pieces. They just need to work together. we want to wrap up this great NBA talk. If you ever have any comments about our debates or anything, you can leave it in YouTube comments on both me and Jason's YouTube channel, or we have an Instagram account, cbj.sports. DM us. We'll post a lot of things. You want to just comment on that? We'd love to hear your comments. But I want to move on to the NHL, as it is the Stanley Cup Finals in the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Dallas Stars. Lightning lead the Stars 3-1. As Jason mentioned, the Stars came back in their series, and the Lightning beat the Bruins, beat their next opponent, made on. Lightning are a great team. How can the Lightning close the series out against the Stars?
Yeah, so we've seen the Lightning close out 3 series this season so far. Definitely the big one was against the Islanders in 6 games in the conference finals. But just like they got to play team hockey. Like we saw them score 7 goals in multiple games these playoffs, and that's because their lines are working together. Like without Steven Stamkos for the first he came back like 2 games ago. He's out for last night's game, questionable for tonight, but he was their best player probably coming into the season. And that line one stepping up, Nikita Kucherov, last year's MVP, Braden Point, Andre Palat, those guys are working together to get multiple goals a game as a line. And their defensemen, Kevin Shattenkirk, Victor Hedman, those guys are looking really good. They just need to punch in some quick goals with those guys. The chemistry that I've seen from this team has been very good, so they can keep that line one chemistry up. I think they are in a good spot. The Stars are a good team, but their key players haven't shown up. It's mainly been their younger players, like the young Miro Heiskanen, defenseman. He's looked really good. Your thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, not a lot of hockey knowledge from my brain, but Lightning, it's kind of like the same as NBA. Don't take your foot off the gas pedal, and they should win. Game 5 is tonight, am I not mistaken? Yeah,
Yep.
Game 5 tonight. Lightning need to do what it takes, give it all. But Dallas, give them credit from where they came. They beat Vegas Golden Knights, and Vegas was, we thought at the beginning of this bubble, one of the best teams in the West. Arizona was as well, but we saw the Bruins being the number 1 seed, but having that 3 months of no hockey really hurt the Bruins' chances of winning the Stanley Cup. We're gonna move on from our NHL. MLB is happening, finishing up this regular season this weekend. As a Red Sox fan, both me and Jason are glad to see that over. So many injuries, and we had so many new guys. The 60-game season was not the best. After the Miami Marlins outbreak, we are both surprised the MLB finished. But we're gonna move on to the past Raiders preview because it's probably a lot more interesting for Boston fans. David Andrews, we saw this week, tweeted by Mike Reese that he had a black cast on his hand, or wrist injury, and he will be sidelined for week 3. Just one storyline about this is if David Andrews goes on IR, we will not see him until week 7, as the Patriots have a week 6 bye. So you have to be on IR for a minimum of 3 weeks. So putting Andrews on IR this week would be big because we wouldn't see him for about 5 weeks. James White, we talked about earlier. He did not play last week. His parents got into a car crash. His dad passed away. His mother got injured. Our thoughts and prayers are to the White family and hope he can come back. Fortunately, he will not be playing. We saw last week in Seattle, all the players really nice, her 2A James White, so also known as Sweet Feet. Thoughts and prayers are out to the White family. Josh Uche, who was drafted by the Pats this year, he'll be out with a foot injury, and Vegas will be out with some injuries as well. Former Patriot Trent Brown will be out, and Henry Ruggs III will be out with a knee/hamstring injury. A lot of players are questionable. Josh Jacobs, Darren Waller for Vegas, and Edelman and N'Keal Harry. Some others for both teams, but those are the big names you need to know for your fantasy team. Today is Saturday. Tomorrow's Sunday. Don't forget to set your lineups for fantasy this week. We already had the Thursday night game. Miami beat Jacksonville. Miami scored about 30 points, and Jacksonville, with Gardner Minshew, couldn't get it done. My prediction for this game is it's going to be a close game, 27-24. It really depends on who's playing for the Raiders, but they have the pieces with Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller. Darren Waller caught the most passes from Derek Carr and the Raiders' home stadium opener in Vegas. They win over the Saints on Monday Night Football. It really depends if they're played, but I'm going to predict a 27-24 New England win. Cam Newton has been phenomenal throwing, running. He's going to get some touchdowns, and maybe a pass to Julian Edelman, and Sony Michel will be taking the runs with Rex Burkhead. Jason?
Okay, I like that prediction, Brandon. I think that Patriots are definitely going to win this game. They're in a good spot, minus those injuries. I think all the guys that are questionable, they're going to play. They are so vital to their respective teams. So I have Cam Newton having a big game. I think he can get one passing touchdown, which I predict to go to Julian Edelman, who had his career high in receiving yards last week for Seattle. And I also have him scoring a rushing touchdown. As we know, he has very fast legs on the ground. With his big body and his speed, he can be unstoppable at times. And I also think that with Derek Carr at quarterback, he's fine, nothing special. So I think that he will definitely throw some picks, and I think that 2019 Defensive Player of the Year, Stephon Gilmore, will take one back for a pick 6. And now we'll transition into our last discussion, which is about the injuries of the San Francisco 49ers. As we mentioned, George Kittle, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Richard Sherman, and now Nick Bosa out for the year with an ACL tear. We're going to be talking about how the Niners can handle the situation.
Yeah, the Niners, unfortunately, have to play at the same turf that they played last week. This is unusual, as the Giants and the Jets are 2 out of 4 teams that share stadium. We also know the Chargers and Rams open SoFi Stadium this year. They'll share, but it's really rare to see teams playing the same stadium. The Pats will play both the Rams and Chargers at SoFi, but Niners, unfortunately, because they had so many injuries against the Jets, the best thing for Kyle Shanahan's offense is the rest. And Deebo Samuel will be coming back shortly, so that will help. Jason, your thoughts?
Yeah, Deebo Samuel, he definitely showed that he was good at the end of last year. I think the Niners can definitely win some games without him, but they're not winning a Super Bowl without him because he stepped up big. And then he's probably going to be their number 1 receiver with Marquise Goodwin and Emmanuel Sanders not being on roster this year. But Jimmy G is probably going to be out for a few more weeks. I don't think they got to worry too much. Nick Mullins is serviceable for now, but I think they're going to depend on their defense. George Kittle is out at tight end. He's looked like a top 2 tight end in the past year behind Travis Kelce in a lot of people's opinions. But the defensive end, they are still elite with guys like linebacker Fred Warner. But I think that defensive end Nick Bosa being out for the season with an ACL tear is going to be big. And then Richard Sherman on the IR, he's been a very good cornerback for years. But I think the defense can manage without some of their top players. But it'll definitely be interesting to see how they're going to handle it on offense. Like, I also heard Tevin Coleman may be out too. So Jerick McKinnon is going to be that number 1 back. And with not many reliable receiving options, I don't really know how the Giants, 49ers are going to handle their offense in week 3. But I think they can get it done with the options that they have.
The loss of Nick Bosa will be tough as so many offense players are injured. The Niners are going to rely on the Nick Bosa-less defense to win against Giants. Giants are missing some players, as we said, Saquon Barkley out for the season, but probably will be a win. And Niners are just going to hope these injuries are just little turf injuries, turf monster gone, and nothing major. Good to see the Celtics win last night. Hopefully they can do it again Sunday night. We mentioned Tyler Hero has gone off in the playoffs. He had 37 points in Game 4 on Wednesday night. Crazy, but last night it was Celtics, 2 big men, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum combined for 60 points. That's a stat we see with the Lakers and LeBron and AD. Wonder if they'll do it tonight. The Revolution played a game on Wednesday, 3-1 against Montreal. First victory at Gillette Stadium. And defenseman and rookie from University of Virginia, Henry Kessler scored his first professional goal. Henry Kessler has been amazing in the defensive line for the Revs, and it's awesome to see him on attacking off a corner. News: Lee Nguyen has come home. We mentioned a few weeks about the trade, and he's definitely had a immediate impact. He played against Philly in their 2-1 loss, and their 0-0 tie against NYC. And Wednesday's was his third game against Montreal, and he's played about 90-ish minutes each game, and we can see that Lee Nguyen is definitely the Carlos Hill replacement for this year. But Adam Buxo, who's only scored 2 goals, can't totally rely on just Bo and Lee. He definitely could use help of Carlos Hill. We mentioned about a few weeks ago that Hill is on the right track to come back if the Revs make the playoffs. And the MLS announced the rest of the schedule. Decision day will be November 8th, and new format with Nashville being in the East. 10 teams will make the playoffs. The 7 through 10 will have a playing game, so 8 teams from each conference will make the playoffs, so total of 16 teams. And because it's only a 1-game playoffs, we probably won't see a bubble unlike the MLB. Mentioned Pats won Miami versus Miami week 1, 21-11. Cam Newton rushed for 75 yards on 15 carries. That 75 yards was the most rushing yards by a Patriots quarterback in a very long time. And we talked about James White out against Seattle. Pick 6 against Russell Wilson, but after that it was 5 TDs from the big man himself. And the Pats will have to look to come back against an injured Raiders team. Jason, any last thoughts as we conclude this episode?
Just not much. Big weekend in sports with the Stanley Cup Finals on, NBA Conference Finals, Week 3 of the NFL season, playoffs starting soon for the MLB, and some great MLS matches happening. It's definitely going to be probably one of the best times to be a sports fan in the world because so many big things are going on, and we're happy to witness it, even though it may not be as we expected, but it's definitely going to be a great weekend, and next few weeks are going to be pretty crucial in sports history.
All right, week 3, we mentioned the Pats, 1 o'clock against the Raiders. Monday Night Football will be definitely one to watch. It's the Ravens at the Chiefs, Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes against Lamar Miller and the Baltimore Ravens. You won't want to miss that. That'll be on Monday Night Football. That's going to do it for episode 9. We had a great time discussing and recapping all the sports you've missed. Don't forget to leave a comment, follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Hit the bell to get notified, and like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Do 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 do.